I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So we're reading in Alma. The sons of Mosiah have already gone down to do their missionary work among the Lamanites, and our last video was to read the case of Nehor, his murder of Gideon, and his execution. Now we're going to finish chapter 1. It's going to kind of finish out the story, because Nehor's dead, but his story is not quite over. We pick this up in verse 16. Nevertheless, this did not put an end to the spreading of priestcraft through the land. For there were many who loved the vain things of the world, and they went forth preaching false doctrines, and this they did for the sake of riches and honor. Nevertheless, they durst not lie if it were known, for fear of the law, for liars were punished. Therefore they pretended to preach according to their belief. And now the law could have no power on any man for his belief. And they durst not steal for fear of the law, for such were punished. Neither durst they rob nor murder, for he that murdered was punished unto death. But it came to pass that whosoever did not belong to the church of God began to persecute those that did belong to the church of God, and had taken upon them the name of Christ. Yea, they did persecute them, and afflict them with all manner of words, and this because of their humility, because they were not proud in their own eyes, and because they did impart the word of God one with another, without money and without price. Now there was a strict law among the people of the church, that there should not any man belonging to the church arise and persecute those that did not belong to the church, and that there should be no persecution among themselves. Nevertheless, there were many among them who began to be proud, and began to contend warmly with their adversaries, even unto blows. Yea, they would smite one another with their fists. Now this was in the 2nd year of the reign of Alma, and it was a cause of much affliction to the church. Yea, it was the cause of much trial with the church. For the hearts of many were hardened, and their names were blotted out, that they were remembered no more among the people of God. And also many withdrew themselves from among them. Now this was a great trial to those that did stand fast in the faith. Nevertheless, they were steadfast and immovable in keeping the commandments of God, and they bore with patience the persecution which was heaped upon them. And when the priests left their labor to impart the word of God unto the people also left their labors to hear the word of God. And when the priest had imparted unto them the word of God, they all returned again diligently unto their labors. And the priest, not esteeming himself above his hearers, for the preacher was no better than the hearer, neither was the teacher any better than the learner. And thus they were all equal, and they did all labor, every man according to his strength. And they did impart of their substance, every man according to that which he had, to the poor, and the needy, and the sick, and the afflicted. And they did not wear costly apparel, yet they were neat and comely. And thus they did establish the affairs of the church, and thus they began to have continual peace again, notwithstanding all their persecutions. And now, because of the steadfastness of the church, they began to be exceedingly rich, having abundance of all things whatsoever they stood in need. An abundance of flocks and herds and fatlings of every kind, and also abundance of grain and of gold and of silver and of precious things, and abundance of silk and fine twined linen and all manner of good homely cloth. And thus in their prosperous circumstances they did not send away any who were naked, or that were hungry, or that were athirst, or that were sick, or that had not been nourished. And they did not set their hearts upon riches, therefore they were liberal to all, both old and young, both bond and free, both male and female, whether out of the church or in the church, having no respect to persons as to those who stood in need. And thus they did prosper and become far more wealthy than those who did not belong to their church. For those who did not belong to their church did indulge themselves in sorceries, and in idolatry, or idleness, and in babblings, and in envyings and strife, wearing costly apparel, being lifted up in the pride of their own eyes, persecuting, lying, thieving, robbing, committing whoredoms and murdering, and all manner of wickedness. Nevertheless, the law was put in force upon all those who did transgress it, inasmuch as it was possible. And it came to pass that by thus exercising the law upon them, every man suffering according to that which he had done, they became more still, and durst not commit any wickedness, if it were known. Therefore there was much peace among the people of Nephi, until the 5th year of the reign of the judges. So this is giving us a general layout of what's going on during the first several years of the reign of the judges among the people of Nephi. The church is prospering because they aren't getting proud. They aren't getting arrogant in their own lives. They're helping everybody out. But they're also being frugal. They're not wearing the costly apparel. They're not spending their money on great luxuries that have no function, or at least have no function beyond what normal stuff would. So they're not spending, $1,000 on business suits. They're not buying $80,000 cars. They're spending their money wisely, frugally, saving it up, helping all those around them so that all those around them are being built up at the same time. But the people outside the church, they are wasting their money. They're buying all these costly luxuries. And they're engaging in wickedness. They're engaging, as it says, robbery, thieving, murder, all these things, trying to get more, both power and riches. But the law is being enforced very strictly. Whenever somebody is caught, they are punished. And because it is being enforced very strictly, it is deterring the actions of others. It's saying, people understand, you're not getting away with it. There's no spending, 50 years in a cushy prison. There is, you pay the penalty, and that's it. So, this is the affairs of the Nephites. Now you'll note that there are many in the church, at least in the beginning, as it says, they contend warmly. They're still faithful people, but they feel the need to lash out. They get angry and they attack others. They attack their persecutors, and it says they contended warmly even to blows. They got into fist fights. They weren't killing them, but they did get into physical altercations, and because of this, a number of them were excommunicated because they would not stop. Anyways, this is the affairs of the people in Zarahemla. Now, for a little while, we will return to the story of the sons of Mosiah, because this tells us the affairs up to the 5th year. Now we got to go see the first 5 years of their missionary journeys. So, I will see you there.